Hi Pisces, welcome to your October Tarot Horoscope. This month I'm doing a radical new thing, which is I've already shuffled and pulled your cards, so we don't have to sit here for minutes trying to shuffle and get a card. So hopefully that'll just kind of kill or save a little bit of dead air. Ready for October. It's going to be Libra season for the first 2/3 of October, and then we'll be rolling into Scorpio season. And your card for the month of October is the High Priest. This is a great card for you. Okay, so here you go, Pisces. This is the way the High Priest looks. So we have this man, this kind of robed man sitting here. He's got this big kind of shining halo light around his head. He's got this tall staff, a book in his hands. And then at his knees, he has these different figures kind of sitting in prayer position in front of him. So that's the High Priest. It's a major arcana. And we're just going to see what the High Priest has to say for you this month. Okay, the High Priest. Personal quintessence. All high priests of the most diverse religious traditions have one thing in common: the task of interpreting the mysteries of life and organizing the appropriate rites. It is your task today to recognize this power within yourself. The key is right in front of your very own eyes. The staff with the triple cross points to the Christian Pope. In a much broader sense, it is a symbol of a bond, of the interconnections between heaven and earth. The staff is like an antenna, which enables you to receive messages from near and far and transmit others. The challenge is addressed to the whole person. The difference in scale of the various figures is a metaphor for personal strengths and weaknesses. Both should be utilized, stretching out beyond existing boundaries. The circles and rays around the figure's head symbolize a higher consciousness, which transcends individual personality. For religious-minded people, this card refers to finding one's way to God and making peace with Him. In a broader sense, this card is all about teaching and learning, initiation and understanding. In order to know others, we have to know ourselves, and thus be able to appreciate the purpose of our own existence. What is so special about Dali's interpretation is that it focuses on the mutual initiation and communication processes between people, or between different aspects of the personality. Aside from the three figures, there is no church and no hint of religious dogma to be seen, but the halo around the head expands the dimensions at issue. Dali shows that the sacred manifests itself in our daily human interaction. Each person can be a spiritual teacher for every other person. Practical advice: initiate others into your mysteries. Be open to the needs of others. Okay, Pisces, like I said, this card really feels like it resonates with a lot of Pisces kind of core strengths anyway. So a lot of the kind of archetypes of Pisces is the oracle, is the person who is kind of connected to the ethereal realms, to the more kind of esoteric, beyond reality sort of feelings, is connected to that dream world, to things that aren't yet real yet, and is able to kind of see and merge with that beyond and then bring it into the kind of physical human realm. So Pisces always kind of has kind of one foot each on the physical plane and the kind of spiritual plane. So this High Priest is really talking about the communication and the transmission of what can come from beyond, and then not just sort of feeling it out there, but bringing it through the person, bringing it through the body, communicating it out to others in this kind of two-way, the transmission and the receiving kind of way that like frequency radio broadcast kind of work, where you are both going to be receiving messages kind of from the dream world, from the beyond, and then not just holding them inside, but transmitting them and sharing them to other people. And then likewise, this is a really great card because it's not the feeling of the oracle or the high priest where there's somebody who, or sorry, like the oracle who's apart from and is the only one who can access the messages of God or the universe, and everybody else is kind of like these little peons that have to kind of wait for this transmission. This card is really talking about the community of transmission, where each of us can be the high priest at different times for each other. So each of these figures kind of take a turn, where sometimes you may be the person receiving messages and kind of broadcasting that wisdom to others, and then other people are sitting and receiving the message from you. And then there'll be a time when they'll switch, where somebody else will come up into their seat of wisdom or their moment of communication, and you get to sit and you get to receive. And then maybe from what you receive from this person, you'll then kind of transmit and kind of continue that telephone game of receiving wisdom, transmitting, receiving, transmitting, and kind of sharing in this kind of ripple effect where everybody gets a chance to be in that seat of wisdom, and to learn from each other and from kind of the beyond realms. So this, I think, is, yeah, it's already kind of feels like a strong suit for you, is having that kind of listening to things kind of beyond. This card feels a lot more like clarifying. Like one of the elements of Pisces can feel really nebulous, or things are feeling kind of like the illusion where it's not very clear. So you might be like, I feel like I'm getting a sense of things, but it might be really hard to transmit, because in order to transmit or speak or share something, you do have to clarify it. You do have to translate it into language. And it can be really easy just to be like, oh, I don't want to restrict or define what can feel like this very intense vision, to bring it into the mundane world. But this is kind of saying like, well, like this is to kind of bring things into a little bit more simplicity in order so that it can be shared and not stay this kind of esoteric, intense, but hard to kind of integrate. This is really receiving and transmitting and integrating is all part of this message. So that's kind of what this card is saying, and you kind of have a really natural strength to kind of listen and receive from those higher realms. In terms of grounding it into the astrology of this month, Libra season, this first 2/3 of Libra season, is all about communication. Libra is an air sign, which is all about kind of mental thought and communication, but Libra is about partnership, which can be romantic relationships, kind of work partnerships, but it's about initiating conversations and initiating defining what relationships are doing for each other, and what it is that, like, what is the purpose of relationship? What is what is the outcome of a partnership, whether it's a business partnership or whatever it might be? Relationships have purpose, and communication and initiating these conversations is a really important way to define how and when we're in a healthy relationship. Libra is also the sign of justice. So initiating conversations about justice. If you kind of have a sense or a download or transmission that things are not fair in a particular way, or if we are receiving, not in an esoteric way, but in a very literal way, transmissions or cries for help, or stories of injustice, and feeling that things, we want to start more of those conversations, initiate conversations around justice and how we can negotiate fairness, everybody's needs getting met, in a way that really kind of honors that tone. So that's kind of this first 2/3 of October. It's probably going to be a lot of feeling and listening and hearing and wanting to start talking about purpose in relationships, justice, equality, everybody getting their needs met. And then we get into Scorpio season at the end of the month. So Scorpio season really kind of, a lot of Scorpio season can be about either kind of wiping the slate clean in order to make way for new things. In the northern hemisphere, it's this kind of now in the middle of autumn where things are dying. We have this this feeling of death and loss, but that's creating the decay and the nutrition for the next season, the next cycle of growth and life. So it's really reminding us and honoring us in relationships, in all avenues of our life. We have cycles of life and death. We have cycles of growth and decay. So that may feel towards the end of October, it may kind of feel like that it's get worse before it gets better, especially if we've been seeing or thinking or engaging in these conversations about justice or inequality. We might sort of feel like we have to lose or break things in order to build something new again, or some old things, the reasons or the scenarios that made things unfair or unequal or unjust for people, we need to do away with those and then build a new structure. So allowing loss and destruction to be a part of clearing the ground and building nutrition for the next growth cycle, that may be a part of this of the end of October. As well, Scorpio is very much about diving into the taboo and diving into what's repressed and below the surface and in the dark, and bringing it to the light in order to be transmuted. So whether that's conversations and relationships, bringing up old kind of traumas or triggers, this is a really common kind of season where relationships undergo a shakedown of, first we're starting this negotiation and a serious initiation of conversation, and then right on the heels of that, as we create space and a safe place to talk about things, suddenly, oh, there might be a lot of things to talk about. There might be, oh, these are things we've been repressing or things we just don't talk about, the realm of taboo that Scorpio season brings up for us. So it can, yeah, sort of feel like maybe a bit rocky, but that's kind of that's part of the whole thing. That's part of this transmission and being in community where one can listen and receive and share and be heard. It includes the good and the bad. It includes the things that when we're in our heightened peak and things are feeling wonderful, or it's the, oh man, that was heavy, that was dark, how do we deal with this? It's all of that. That's the whole life cycle here. So allowing all of that to be true, trying to not just rush through to the good parts. And for you in particular, Pisces, there might be kind of that if when things get tough, especially when we start rolling into Scorpio season at the end of the month, there might be the tendency to like self-soothe or go into the escapism realms of the daydream, or kind of like your substances or dissociation or whatever it is, the self-soothing. And that can be helpful, soothing, in order to regulate your nervous system so that you have you're not explosive when you have these conversations. An amount of self-soothing is good, but if it gets too far into escapism, then that just kind of avoids completing the thought, avoid coming to conclusion, avoid really finishing and dealing with what might come up. So definitely honor your needs to rest and have a nervous system reset so that you aren't going into two conversations triggered or heightened, but kind of set a time limit. Try to like not have it be something you're just running into and escaping into. So that's that for October. It looks like it's gonna be a time. But it's all part of the whole season. It's just one moment of time. It's 1 month of the year. It's just respecting the life cycle. It has its ups and downs. And yeah, just really trying to lean into the community aspect, the connected aspect of sharing this wisdom and tapping into those truths and bringing them, grounding them into the community and reality. So that's it for you, Pisces. That's it for October. This is, of course, this is a free little workshop, still free little tarot reading. This month, September 30th for me here in Canada is Truth and Reconciliation Day. And so that when I did my normal Libra season workshop, normally that's a pay what you can to me, but at this point for this workshop, it is a donation based to the Native Women's Association of Canada. So the Libra season workshop is super, super relevant up until kind of that 2/3 mark of October. So if you want to give that a look, and there's a lot of transits going on, there's a lot of retrogrades, and a lot through in that time of the end of Libra season, a lot of planets that have been retrograde are going to be going forward. So there's a lot happening. So check that out at the workshop, and then at the same time, you can support a really, really important organization that's a part of Truth and Reconciliation here in Canada. So check that out on the YouTube channel. Donations all to that association. And thank you so much, and best of luck for you, Pisces, this October.